Welcome to MojoPlays, and in this installment of Versus, we'll be pitting Gotham Knights against the Arkham series. Which version of the Bat Fam is stronger?
Really? I don't mind walking.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Round 1, Traversal. Gotham Knights features numerous ways to traverse the environment. While any of the heroes can break out their customizable bat cycle, more on that later, they're also all able to grapple. They can grapple significantly further than Batman could in the Arkham games too. But there are an extra 4 unique traversal options, one for each character. Nightwing has a glider, Robin can teleport using the Justice League satellite, Batgirl can glide just like Batman, and Red Hood can bounce around with his bizarre, mystical leap. All of these abilities make the game and navigation significantly more fun, though you do have to complete the first Knighthood challenge for each of them to unlock their power. Arkham, meanwhile, only has one major way of non-vehicular traversal: gliding. It's true that Batgirl glides in Gotham Knights, but likely because of the multi-character setup, her gliding isn't anywhere near as complex or satisfying as the Dark Knight's was.
He's watching us. I know it.
Batman's gliding changed and developed over the course of 4 games, with it reaching its apex in Arkham Knight. Not only does he have the grapple boost to launch him into the air, he can also gain altitude and dive bomb so effectively that he might as well actually be flying.
You got a big mouth. Part of me hopes he flies down here and shuts it.
Though Gotham Knights deserves credit for experimenting with new things, we've got to give this one to Arkham.
Think he's had enough? Not by a long shot.
Round 2, Vehicles. You could certainly argue that vehicles are part of traversal, and indeed in other games they are, but the Batmobile was such a big part of Arkham Knight, far beyond its ability to get from A to B, that it needs its own category.
Drone feed offline. Get back!
The Batmobile is one of the most divisive parts of Knight. People had been clamoring for it since the first game, and Rocksteady arguably leaned a little too hard on the car this time around. Not only was it a slippery and destructive force of nature while simply driving around Gotham, but you also had seemingly endless tank combat missions and had to use it to solve obtuse puzzles in the open world. We appreciate that a lot of time and effort went into the Batmobile, but if you don't like tank combat, it's enough to put you off the game entirely. Gotham Knights, on the other hand, made the wise decision not to bring the Batmobile back. Though they could have had a sleek muscle car with no combat capabilities, instead the Knights were given the Batmobile's smaller brother, the Batcycle. The Batcycle does, admittedly, result in some choppiness when you use it, and never feels fast to drive, but it's still fun enough when combined with all the other traversal mechanics. Plus, the Batcycle is customizable with a slew of skins and colorways, none of which are locked behind microtransactions. And this is a stark contrast to Arkham Knight, in which all the alternate Batmobile skins were locked behind pre-orders and paywalls, and some couldn't even be used in the open world, only in Riddler races. We gotta give this one to Gotham Knights, because sometimes less really is more. Round 3, Combat. Like the traversal, Gotham Knights has 4 different heroes for players to grapple with, and as such, 4 notably different combat styles. Nightwing and Red Hood aren't even designed for the Arkham series' trademark stealth and work best with an all-guns blazing approach, which is definitely an interesting contrast. And once you unlock more and more abilities and get used to the fact that in this game you're dodging all of the time, not countering, it's very fun. However, if you're playing single player, you may find yourself mobbed with more enemies that are really fun to take down. Not that it's particularly difficult, leading to many grindy mini-boss battles. The Arkham games, on the other hand, reinvented third-person hand-to-hand combat in video games. By zooming far out every time Batman engages in combat, players can see every enemy coming at them in time to dodge, counter, stun, or attack them. Gotham Knights' camera work in this regard isn't quite as good. Batman also has way more gadgets in those games, providing more opportunity for moment-to-moment decision-making, not to mention a far deeper emphasis on stealth gameplay.
Is it too much to ask that you just do your job and stop it?
And it also can't be overlooked that the Arkham games feature all 4 of the Knights as playable characters at some point or another, as well as Catwoman, which means they also have combat variety across numerous characters. Gotham Knights combat can absolutely be a lot of fun, but it's just not as polished or deep as the Arkham games. Round 4, World Design. The Arkham games started out small, with Batman in the enclosed biome of Arkham Island, and steadily grew in scope until Arkham Knight gave us the entirety of Gotham City to explore. But there was a problem. While Knight's open world certainly looked impressive, many of the most iconic locations from the comic books had already been used in Arkham City, arguably the best game in the series.
I need to find Catwoman now.
The Ace Chemical Building, the Monarch Theater, the old GCPD, they were all done in City, and Knight had fewer memorable landmarks to choose from. Even rebuilding Ace Chemicals entirely and sending you off to a dungeon on an airship. As such, Knight's world is far less memorable, and even in City, it could get tedious to navigate those underground tunnels and walkways around the museum. Gotham Knights, on the other hand, is perhaps an even better video game interpretation of Gotham City as a whole, especially compared directly to Arkham Knight. It does have the major issue of there being a lot of bridges you have to navigate, but once you unlock fast travel, you don't have to worry about the bridges if you don't want to. And we love how the many important locations, like again, Arkham Asylum, the Monarch Theater, Blackgate, the Gotham Gazette, and Wayne Tower all come back.
Much better, now that I'm out of there.
Come back to the Belfry as soon as you can.
WB Montreal also invented a lot of additional history for Gotham, much of which comes through in the world design if you do the landmark side quest. Plus, this version of Gotham actually has civilians in it, rather than being totally evacuated, avoiding Arkham Knight's emptiness.
You're like a fish on a hook, aren't you?
It's close this time around, but we think that Gotham Knights just ekes out a victory.
I take it you heard what happened at the hotel.
Actually, I was there.
Round 5, Story. As shown in all the marketing, Gotham Knights follows the core members of the Bat family after the death of Batman. The Knights need to investigate Batman's last case, the one that got him killed, and save Gotham from the impending threat of the Court of Owls. They've also got to contend with a few supervillains from Batman's Rogues Gallery, Harley Quinn, Mr. Freeze, and Clayface, as well as encountering various side characters.
You may have questions, but I can think of a few reasons not to answer them.
The story of Gotham Knights is very much the kind of story you'll get in a regular monthly comic run. It's hammy, cheesy, sometimes over the top, but it knows exactly what it is and wants to be. Though we can't forgive all of its dicey writing.
It is over.
The Arkham games, on the other hand, excluding Origins, which is largely separate, tell one overarching story about Batman and the Joker. They were shooting for the lofty heights of Batman the Animated Series and some of the more critically acclaimed graphic novels about the Caped Crusader. Starring the late and great Kevin Conroy as Batman yet again, as well as many of the other all-star DC performers like Mark Hamill's Joker, the stories of these games live up to and often exceed the greatest Batman stories in comics, movies, or other video games. Though we have to admit, the plot did suffer slightly when Batman auteur writer Paul Dini was unceremoniously dropped by Rocksteady for Arkham Knight. His absence definitely showed.
I trust you have not forgotten me, Batman.
Ultimately, though, we have to give it to Arkham because of Paul Dini's incredible influence on the first two games.
Welcome to the madhouse, Batman! I set a trap, and you sprang it gloriously! Now let's get this party started.
It's a closer contest than you might have thought, and Gotham Knights has plenty to love for hardcore Batman fans. But we have to give it to the Arkham games for their overall polish and quality, PC ports notwithstanding.
Enough. Freeze! Enough!
Of course. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, there's more where that came from.